Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, welcome back to our 10th lecture narration. It is chapter 11 in your book, The Right Start book. Today we're going to learn how to write a narrative paragraph. You know that narration is simply the telling of a story, either to entertain or to inform the reader. So it has two purposes, either for entertainment or for giving information. The stories in narrative paragraphs can be fictional stories from imagination, or non-fiction, that is the retelling of an incident that actually happens. What's important though is that the story develops the topic of the paragraph. This is very important. The story develops what? The topic, sentence of the paragraph. The elements of a narrative paragraph are the same as those in any other type of paragraph. It has three elements. Number one, a topic sentence announcing the subject and the controlling idea, support sentences using specific details to develop the subject, and sentence variety. As we said, do not use only simple sentences. You have to vary your sentences. You have to use different types of conjunctions and coordinating conjunctions, adverbial support, and many other transitional expressions, as we will see, because this adds rhythm to your writing and it be more interesting for the reader. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a very important topic here in narrative paragraphs, that is the point of the story. It is very important. There must be a point to every story. Again, there must be what? A point to every story. Otherwise, no one will be interested in reading it. Therefore, every narrative paragraph you write must have a clear point or purpose. So, I mean by point of a story is what? The purpose of the story. That purpose should always be to develop the topic and the controlling idea of the paragraph. This might seem like an obvious and easy point to follow in a paragraph, but too many writers lose sight of it. It might be simple for you. You say, oh, okay, what is the point of the story? It is easy, but no, you have to pay attention, because many writers lose this sight and they do not have a point of the story. They write randomly, and that will not be interesting for your readers. So you have to be specified. You have to write your point of the story in your outline when you are going to write a narrative paragraph. The best way to get to the point of the story is what? Is to examine the topic sentence and see what makes it interesting to my readers. Ask yourself this question: what makes my paragraph more interesting to my readers? By answering this question, you are going to limit your point of the story. The following is an example of a topic sentence for a narrative paragraph. Subject, controlling idea, and point of a story are listed. Let's see. In this example, when my mother had a surgery, I assumed responsibility for running the household. This is a topic sentence, okay? But what is the subject or the topic? It is running the household. This is the subject. What is the controlling idea? It is assuming responsibility for running the household. Here, I assumed responsibility for running the household. So assuming responsibility for running the household is the controlling idea, and the topic is running the household. What is the point of the story? You can elicit it. You can summarize it from the subject and from the controlling idea. It is acting responsibly in a time of need. How you are going to behave in this urgent time. What responsibilities you are going to do in this urgent time, the time of that your mom is in hospital, not at home. So this is the point of the story, the purpose of the story. This is an activity to apply. You can do the same as the previous slide. You are going to underline the subject once, the topic. Then you are going to underline the controlling idea twice. Then in your own words, summarize from the subject and from the controlling idea, what do you think is the point of the story will be. You can write it in the spaces here and it will be discussed. Prepare it for the Zoom session. Developing the narrative paragraph. Once you have chosen your subject, the controlling idea, the point of the story, you must decide how to develop this subject. What details, what facts, what examples are you going to use in order to develop this story and to get the point of the story into access? The the easiest way to develop a subject and maintain focus is to use the reporter's 6 questions, which we discussed before in chapter 9. You have to ask yourself who, what, where, when, why, and how. For the previous example, mother at hospital having a surgery, I'm going to use answers for these 6 questions. Look here. Who? Who is clear in the topic sentence? Who assumed responsibility for running the household? Of course, it is the writer. He says, my mother, and he's talking about himself or herself. What? What household activities had to be done? This might be a list of activities such as paying bills, food shopping, cooking, cleaning, and babysitting. So, what is related to what? Is related to the list of activities that the writer is going to do. Where? And where is answered, it is clear from the topic sentence. Where were the activities finished? The household has been identified. Of course, it will be done at home. When? Time. When were the activities completed? The period passing the hospital stay and the convalescence time. Okay? Convalescence time means recovering time. Staying in bed for recovering. Why? Why did the household activities have to be assumed? What is the reason for that? Because mother was in hospital. This, of course, is answered in the topic sentence. How? How were the activities completed? Did the writer use any special appliances to help out with the chores or to do the chores in a particular order each day? Of course, this how is not answered in the topic sentence. That is will be developed when you write your support sentences. From the list above, who, where, and why are obvious and probably do not need to be developed as they are developed in the topic sentence. The important features to develop would be what activities had to be done, when, how long did it take, or how were the activities taken care of. You cannot answer all these in one paragraph. You cannot answer, for example, what, when, how in the same paragraph. You have focus question. Focus question, it means you can choose only one question to focus upon. Who, where, why are answered in the topic sentence. Now you are going to choose one question from the 3 questions. Is it what or when or how? We are going to have 3 examples for the 3 questions. Let's see. Focus here is on what? All the household chores and activities that needed to be done. It means what are the activities that have to be done at home. Let's see now. When my mother had hip surgery, I assumed responsibility for running the household. This is the controlling idea and the topic. So this is the topic sentence having the 2 parts, the topic and the controlling idea. And now here we have the support sentences that develop the topic and the controlling idea, the point of the story. First, I had to take care of a stack of bills for the month. After that, I planned a menu for the week and I went to the supermarket to buy food. In addition to cooking daily meals, I prepared some meals in advance. Afterward, I placed them in the freezer. I tried to clean part of the house each day so I wouldn't have an overwhelming job on the weekend. Besides all of these chores, I had to take care of my younger sister and brother. Although I was very nervous at the thought of shouldering all these responsibilities, I was up to the challenge. I was up to the challenge. So all these support ideas are related to the question what? What are the activities that needed to be done at home? And like what? Like paying bills. This is a list of activities: paying bills, food shopping, cooking, cleaning, and babysitting. The list of chores is linked by the use of words and phrases that order the events. As you see, you first, after that, in addition, these phrases are used to link the sentences. Instead of using choppy sentences, very short sentences, we use these words and these phrases. because this, as we said before, helps read the paragraph smoothly and rhythmically. Now, we are going to use the focus on the question when. The previous was what? Here, this question is when. When means the period when the writer's mother was in the hospital and the period when the mother was home recuperating but unable to help. Recuperating means recovering but still staying in bed and unable to help. When my mother had hip surgery, I assumed responsibility for running the household. The total time period for my running the house was 4 weeks. First, my mother had to stay in the hospital for an entire week. Afterward, she came home, but she had to stay in bed for another week. Finally, when she could get out of bed, I had to be at her side to help her on short exercise walks. This lasted for 2 more weeks. All the while, I still had to do all the household chores by myself. After the 4 weeks had passed, my mother made me a special dinner, and she thanked me for being so mature in running the house. It was a proud day for both of us. As you see here in this paragraph, it uses time words and phrases to facilitate the development supporting the when focus question. When, time period, 4 weeks, entire week, afterward, another week, 2 more weeks, all the while, and 4 weeks had passed. Also notice the order of events is chronologically sound. It is chronologically sound. The mother is in hospital, then comes home, convalesces at home in bed, and finally gets out of bed to exercise. There is a chronological order of the events according to time. That is the answer of the question when. The focus is when. This is the third paragraph focusing on how. So we read about what the activities that has to be done at home. Then when, the time, the period when mother was in hospital. Then when mother came back home but unable to do the housework. And now how. The focus is on how. How the chores were taken care of. When my mother had hip surgery, I assumed responsibility for running the household. As you see here, the topic sentence is the same, no change. The change is only on the focus, according to the question. I know that I could not take care of everything, so I enlisted some help. My brother and sister were very young, so my Aunt Jessie came every other evening to help babysit. Consequently, I could do laundry and prepare some meals for the following week. My neighbor, my best friend, Celeste, also helped with food shopping and yard work. After my mother came home from the hospital, there was even more to do. So every Saturday I paid a maid service to come in and clean the house. When my mother finally was able to get up and around, we went for a walk, and she had tears in her eyes when she told me how proud she was of how I had handled all the responsibilities. Okay, so this paragraph develops the focus question how by describing how the chores were completed. The writer enlisted friends and relatives to help out. So how? By what? By enlisting relatives and friends, asking them for help. Like whom? Like Aunt Jessie, babysitting. Like a friend and neighbor Celeste for food shopping and yard work. Like a maid service for house cleaning. Notice that this focus also could satisfy the who question. I said that the focus on this paragraph is on how question, but it also has who question because we are talking about persons who offer help. Often one focus helps in developing ideas that are relevant to another focus. That means you can use more than one focus question. The important aspect to remember is that each paragraph develops the same topic. As we said, the same topic sentence is repeated in each paragraph. All are talking about the same topic, about the same controlling idea, about the same point of a story. But the focus differs from one paragraph to another. Transitional expressions. We always say transition expressions are very important in moving from one sentence to another smoothly. Showing time sequence. Because narrative paragraphs relate a story, you usually present events in the proper order. That way, the reader can stay focused on the events without being confused about when things happened. To keep track of time and show readers the correct sequence of events, you need to use transition expressions. Okay? So why do we use transition expressions? To keep track of time. Okay? And the reader also can focus on the sequence of the events, the correct sequence of events. These are the commonly used transition expressions in narration. Okay? And why we use them? Transition expressions are simply words and phrases that indicate when one event happened in relation to another. That's why we use them. In this activity, I want you to underline the transitional expressions. You can read it at home, analyze it, and find the transition expressions. For example, in the first sentence, at first the town of Siltsea, here we have at first is a transitional expression. You can read it, analyze it. You can also ask yourself, what is the topic sentence? Where is the topic? Where is the controlling idea? What is the point of the story? What are the support sentences? What is the focus question in this paragraph? What focus questions are used here in this paragraph? It is good to analyze the paragraph. That helps you write very, very well developed narrative paragraphs when you analyze. Look at this narrative paragraph from an urban legend called The Roommate's Death by Jan Harold. Okay, by Jan Harold. I'm going to read this paragraph, this narrative writing, in order to analyze it. It was not long before the telephone rang. Linda answered the telephone, only to hear the heavy breathing of the caller on the other end. She attempted to elicit a response from the caller, but he merely hung up. Thinking little of it, and not wanting to panic Sharon, Linda went back to watching her television program, remarking that the caller had dialed a wrong number. Upon receiving the second call, at which time the caller first engaged in a bit of heavy breathing and then instructed them to check on the children, the two girls became frightened and decided to call the operator for assistance. The operator instructed the girls to keep the caller on the line as long as possible should he call again, so that she might be able to trace the call. The operator would check back with them. Okay, let's see this question. How does Bronvad, the writer, the author, order the events? How are the events ordered? Point out words and phrases that help the reader recognize the order of events as they occur. If you read it again at home and analyze it again, you will see that the writer uses telephone calls to order the events. The focus is on the telephone calls. How many telephone calls do you think the writer wrote about? There are 2 phone calls and a third is inferred. You can infer that there is a third call is going to be. The first call is introduced in the first sentence. It was not long before the telephone rang. So this is the first call. The second call is introduced in sentence 5 upon receiving the second call. And the third call is inferred by the operator in the last sentence. The operator would check back with them. So there will be a third call when the operator calls them and asks them what happens, okay, or what happened. This is the answer of the first question. Now, the second question, what is the primary focus of the paragraph? Is it who? Is it what? Is it where? Is it when? Is it why or how? Of course, there you can find more than one question, but I want the primary focus. What is the primary focus? You can choose the secondary focus and then tell me what is the primary focus of this paragraph. This will be when you read this paragraph and try to analyze it. How to analyze it? To know what is the topic sentence, what is the subject, what is the controlling idea, what is the point of the story, and what are the transitional expressions used in this story. Then you can know what is the primary focus question in this paragraph, in addition to secondary focus questions. Suggestions for writing. For the same paragraph of Linda and Sharon, rewrite this paragraph using appropriate transition expressions from the list of transition expressions which we had in the previous slides, which reads more smoothly and rhythmically. You can, here I want you to just for more practice at home for yourself, for self-learning only. You can rewrite this paragraph about the 3 telephone calls, okay? And you can use different transition expressions and rewrite the paragraph using a different focus also than the one you selected. Okay, I mean, you can use a different focus question. You can use how question, you can use where question, when question, what question, why question, any question you like, and write it for yourself, for self-learning. Homework. Write a narrative paragraph about one of the following topics. In this homework, I want you to choose one of these 8 topics and write about it a narrative paragraph following what we have discussed in this video. I want a topic sentence. In this topic sentence, you are going to write the topic and the controlling idea. Then you are going to summarize the point of the story and develop it in using the one of the primary 6 questions we discuss and talk about. You can do one of these topics, or your homework will be doing this activity. You can choose a person or a hero and write about it. And for more practice, it is better if you practice writing the same paragraph with different focus, using what, where, when, why, or how, as we used in the example of the writer's mother when she was in the hospital. Chapter self-assessment. You can read these sentences and decide whether they are true or false, and if they are false, why are they false, and this will be homework and will be discussed in Zoom session. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and healthy, and goodbye for now.